G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the west side of the map in the colour red, playing as the English. We've got Divine DFP. And on the east side of the map, in the colour yellow, playing as the Malians. He's back again. We've got Age of Crashes. You know what? I've seen a couple of comments recently on YouTube and they said, Drongo, please bring back the wide boy zoom. We miss it. We love it. And you know what? There's a part of me that just thinks, could we combo the two? Could we go for like a wide boy, but could we zoom in and also be wide? Doesn't even really look wide to me. Doesn't really look that wide. Anyway, we can indeed do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're on Dry Arabia here, watching two of the world's best players battle it out. These two guys are both currently within the top 20. So very, very decent players. And I'm looking forward to watching this match because, as you guys know, the English is close to my heart. And this matchup is one that I've always had trouble with. I remember playing one game. It was actually on this map. It was against the Malians, against a player that was rated a lot lower than me. But it took me so long just to be able to find a position where I could actually win the game from. Will we see that today from Divine? That's going to be a question. Is he going to be able to pull out that big victory? Because he's going to be opening us up with an early, take a look at this, an early wheelbarrow. Now, I love Divine. I love watching Divine play. I've said this many a time before because I find his English to be one of the most, how do you say, solid English performances that we regularly see. He has already started planning the building of his base, and that's what I love about the way that he's playing. So this mill, you might look at it and think, well, hold on a minute, Drongo. It's not in the back of his base. Why hasn't he put the mill in the back of his base, right? Like, surely you would think you're throwing down a mill, there's going to be farms around it shortly. Like, you'd want it up here, wouldn't you? Away from the danger on the front. And yeah, that's true. But what Divine's thinking about is, well, where am I going to put my second town center? And already in his head, he's got himself a picture. He's painting that picture. So my suspicions is we're going to see a second town center that intersects, or not intersects, but corners both the gold vein here and the edge of this mill influence, as well as down along the berries. That's going to be the first TC. I suspect Divine, whenever I've watched him, he loves to go for the third TC as well. He's a big fan of the White Tower. I'm curious if he still goes for the White Tower, though, so that's something to check in with. But the way I picture it in my head is I want to make, like, the Bermuda Triangle and in the middle are villages, and if you dare enter the Bermuda Triangle of villages, you, as a unit, will cease to exist if you belong from the enemy. Just like the real Bermuda Triangle. But I guess that's a story for another day. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a TC come down here on the gold vein and also a TC over here on the wood line. You can obviously just look for... Actually, you know what? I'd probably just throw it on the stone. It's adjacent to the wood line. Makes it so much easier. But let's check in over on the other side of the map, though, because Age of Crashes, we haven't talked much about him, but he's going to be opening up with the Mansa Quarry. So just leaving it open. Now, this is something that we saw popularized by Salami, a.k.a... What's Salami's? Corvinus. Where basically what players do is they open the Mansa Quarry, but they trade. And you might think that that's a bit weird, especially for a civilization that has a trade landmark. The problem is, if you go for the trade landmark, you're kind of telegraphing, hey, I'm going to trade. So that's the first problem that you've got. And also, if the trade fails, if your enemy stops the trade, then you kind of got nothing left. On top of that, Mansa Quarry, nice and early. You could just get a whole bunch of upgrades, or you can just utilize that gold income and further push your trade up. So I do kind of like it in the sense that you're funneling gold into it if you're looking for trade. But I think trade's going to be an interesting question, whether we see it this game or not. Let's check in with the trading posts. Not the best trading posts. So look, I'm going to be honest. If I had these trading posts, I probably wouldn't go for... I mean, you could do something like this. It wouldn't be terrible. Put a market down in this corner. Try and trade along the edge like that. It could work. The main issue that you've got, well, to be honest, there's not really an issue, right? You're up against the English. And I think that if there's a civilization that you can trade against, it is the English. There's nothing they're going to do to you, right? Like, push out with some... they push out with longbows, I got javelin. You push out with spears, I got javelin. You push out with men-at-arms, I got javelin. You push out with anything, and it's like, I've got javelin. It's fine, I've got javelin. So... we do see that Age of Crashes, instead of opening for the Javelin, is just going to be going into the Sable. There's a part of me that I was going to say, is he going for... are we going to potentially see a survival technique / professional scouts play here? That could be the case, especially the fact that he's throwing down the mill at the same time makes me think that could be the case. But hold your horses, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have ourselves a little bit of a cow boom? That could be on the cards here. We'll check back in over on the other side of the map. Divine going for a pretty late age up here. Obviously did go for that early sorry, wheelbarrow. I was trying to think of the word mill. But in my head, all that was coming was windmill. And I'm like, I know it's not a windmill, it's a mill. But to me, there's just something about that just says windmill. Look at that. Windmill. Age Up comes through for Divine, though. Let's check in with him and see how he's doing. And, of course, it is going to be a second TC on the cards. No real surprise there. This is Divine we're talking about. And if there's anyone who's going to be famous for their Divine economy, it's going to be this guy right here. Over on the other side of the map, though, we do see the first of the sofas coming out. Take a look at this. A Sofa Warrior coming out pretty early in this game, before the 6-minute mark, so looking to almost roleplay a little bit as the French, loving to get that early armored cavalry out there. Keep in mind, we do have slightly less armor than our French counterparts, but we're still pretty decent, still pretty happy with it. But meanwhile, back towards Age of Crash's base, we can see that the horticulture has now just come through, so that's a pretty decent investment early on as well. So looking to utilize that gold that he's picking up from the Mansa Quarry. Get out of town. It's on stone. I remember, how long ago was it? There was a game I casted, and I just noticed that players never put their Mansa Quarry on stone. Literally never put their Mansa Quarry on stone, and yet now we actually see it happening. And I kind of like this, because I remember when the Malians first came out, that was what people were doing. And as you can see, we successfully predicted the location of the town center right here. Looks like the Sofa Warrior will get caught, though, and the villager's just going to turn around. He's got plenty of vills there, so not going to be able to do too much. Fortunately, just way too many villagers. But yeah, I remember initially when the Malians came out, everyone was like, all right, I'm going to stick the Mansa Quarry on stone. I'm going to make units. And then once I hit 350, I think back then it was was it 350? 300? 350 stone. I got to double check my math. I think it was 300 stone, wasn't it back then? How much is a town center these days? I got to double check. Yeah, 350. It was 400/300, right? Maybe I'm going crazy. I'm not going crazy. They increased it. Anyway, I remember you used to keep it on. On the stone, and then you'd add in that second TC, and then you go Castle Age. But obviously the meta shifts, and people work out the optimal way to play it. But it's curious to me that Age of Crashes has gone back to this way, and we can see that he's got plenty of vills on wood. So in the event that he wants to go into that second TC, which I suspect he will be doing, he's going to have no problems whatsoever. Down towards Divine, though. As we suspected, the second TC has come up. He's got this nice little pocket to protect. Hasn't gone for that third TC. Could look for the King's Palace. But as I said, one thing I know about Divine is he's a big fan of the White Tower. He loves it just as much as I do. It's one of my favorite landmarks in the game. I genuinely call it the best landmark that there is. I think it just synergizes incredibly well with the English, synergizes wonderfully with their economy as well. Now, one thing I'd love to see from Divine is just an attempt up here to get this wall up. He's been raided through here once. It naturally just makes sense he looks to wall this in and then throw down a little wall just over on the edge just to cover these villages a bit more, because he needs to avoid that attack again from coming through, because I suspect Age of Crashes is going to be looking to get that second attack in, and there it is. Now coming around, going to get caught with his pants down once again. Villagers on the run, though, manages to pop them right before the surround comes through, and Age of Crashes, unfortunately, coming up empty-handed. Gets a little bit of idle time there. Obviously, the lumber camp is somewhat struggling as well, so he can come down to this spot. Once again, it's all about looking to try and get... There it is. There's the third TC. So this was one of the things I was going to say. I feel like going for that third TC as the English, you just can't be punished. Obviously, you know, at the super high top level, 100% you can, but he spotted out the second TC over from his opponent, or at least spotted out. Has he spotted it out? How does he know? Is he just he's feeling it out? Does he I think he might just realize, you know, there's Sofa Warriors here, but there's no archers. I'm not seeing any javelins. I didn't spot any archery ranges out, and obviously we don't know what he knows because, well, it's been 2 years that Age of Empires 4 has been out, and we still can't tell on the in-game functionality what players have actually scouted and what they haven't. But it looks like Big Cow Landmark may be coming up for the Malian fans. So if you're a Big Cow Landmark, well, I want to know about it because I'm a Big Cow Landmark fan. I used to love the Big Cow Landmark. And to be honest, I kind of like the buffed up version of this, because remember, these guys have been buffed. In the most recent patch, there were changes to the way that this landmark, not this landmark, but the way that cows work. Remember that cows, they used to be this thing where it was like, initially when Malians came out, everyone's like, oh, cows. And then people were like, cows. And now everyone's coming back and they're kind of like, cows. So mainly, the big thing to note is that cows now get affected by these food upgrades. So it means that instead of just collecting that base rate of food the entire time, Now all of a sudden they're affected by that, so it's slightly more food that you're going to be getting in, and that starts to add up, right? Especially if you're talking castle age, especially if you talk imperial age, and you're looking at, you know, an extra 15% on top of my 15% on top of my 15%. Like, now we're starting to talk some real numbers. But speaking of real numbers, take a look at this. We've got Divine now with the third TC coming in. And it's exactly in that spot that I thought he would go for. I thought he'd come down for this one first, but obviously he was delayed in his decision to go for a third TC. It would have made sense to put this down as the first additional TC and then look for this one. But obviously, we tracked along with him and we saw exactly how it was going to go down. So he indeed has the Bermuda Triangle, the English Bermuda Triangle, as we could call it. This is the triangle that you dare not enter, and this is part of the reason why English are so damn good at doing this, is because they got so many bonuses that just go with this, right? Like, where do I even start? Okay, number one, additional arrow on the town center. Okay, so it does 2 extra attacks. That's the first one. Second one, additional attack speed for any units that are nearby. Third one, villagers, they've got bows, so don't be messing with them. They've got the best headsets that money can buy. Fourth thing, they've got the cheapest farms that you can get. Well, not the cheapest farms, but half-price farms. So it means that they don't have to leave their base. They can keep everything around here. The next thing, they've got the Council Hall, which is an archery range, which gives you access to archers before any other civilization, and it gives you that access for free. Not to mention, it's double archery range. And then on top of that, the final thing is the longbow, the unique unit. If you dare engage upon this civilization under all of those, under the town centers, under the network of castles, under the villages with their bows, under absolutely everything, you're up against one of the best units at defending. It is the unit with the longest range. It is the unit with palings to stop any kind of cavalry assault. It is just impossible to attack into this Bermuda Triangle of English defense. But the age-ups are now coming through. The Grand Fulani Corral on the east side. The Big Cow landmark, as it has been known in many a games. There it is. I'll give you a little bit of a wide boy for you. How you doing there? I mean, we're getting wide. How about wide over there? We're getting wide. And on the other side of the map, we do see the White Tower coming down. So I love this a lot. Now, Divine's a little bit behind where he normally should be. You should ideally be looking for this age up somewhere. Oh, sorry, wrong button. You should be looking at around 11 minutes, but that's for an optimized build. Obviously, this wasn't optimized. He was dealing with early raids and whatnot, so it's absolutely fine that he's behind. But the big thing that we're going to see now is, I just love this. This is the balls to the walls English timing attack that's going to be coming out here. And the question's going to be, how does the Malians deal with this? Because once you get to Castle Age as the English, you start to feel really good about yourself. The only thing to note is that against the Malians, you kind of like having longbows. They're pretty decent because they do quite well against the javelins. But we're obviously going to be mainly dealing with men-at-arms crossbow, probably moving into maybe spearman crossbow, and then eventually you might see a mangonel, a springald, something like that. But you can see that the numbers that are coming out at the moment are pretty damn fearsome, right? Like, you've got a barracks that's working overtime here. You've got a council hall that's pumping out units. White Tower, it's not making any units at the moment, but obviously he's got plenty of resources. Look at the resources in the bank. We're talking about 2, 4, 6, 7 production buildings right now, and he does not have enough production to deal with this economy. There's just so many units out here. Let's go check in on the other side, though. We've been talking about the Bermuda Triangle of English so far quite a bit. So let's begin focusing over on that east side and see how our Malian protagonist is doing. Actually, I don't know if I'd call him the protagonist. I'm an English main, so he's more of an antagonist, I would say. We can see that he is also looking to rally units over towards this west side. Veteran Sofa, obviously with the upgrade through. He's picked up his ranged armor as well. Great to see that the blacksmith upgrades are on the way through. Still yet to pick them up for Divine. And speaking of Divine, let's take a look and see what that economy is looking like. At the moment, looking roughly around 2.7k resources. Compare that to his opponent, and oh my lord, look at the difference right there. Whoa, we'll talk about that later, but whoa, that is an impressive difference that you are looking at. Oh my lord. Okay, raid comes through. He's picked up 1 villager so far. There goes the second one. Third one probably going to be going down. There it goes. Fourth one could have got it, but didn't want to dive the town center. Obviously facing a lot of damage. Ladies and gentlemen, can we just talk about this food income for a moment? Holy moly. 1550. So we're talking 1500, 2500, 3400, 36 or 3500 resources per minute coming through from our Malian player. Compare that to our English player. He's gone idle for a little bit here. I'd call it closer to 2k, probably about 2.5k, but you're sitting ahead 1,000 resources a minute, which is insane. We don't even have relics picked up yet. They've only just come in, remember that. The first relic has only just arrived. Second and third relics are now coming through, so I think the key here is that Divine wants to look for a kill confirm on his opponent, ideally before the 20-minute mark. That is when I like to go for it on this strategy. You can scale into the late game, but the longer this game goes, the worse it gets for Divine. I shouldn't say that. Obviously, English is very strong in the late game, but I think the true power of the English is right now. Because he should just be putting his absolute back to the wall and just pumping out units non-stop, which he's doing. But we can see that these raids coming through from his opponent are doing a decent job to deny out these resource collections. Over towards the east, a little bit of a slow siege through coming in. Sacred Site's also being denied, or rather captured in the middle. I take it back. Divine going to be looking to go into his own religious units. Sacred Site's also getting captured up now down towards the south side here. And the raid coming in, keep in mind, he's still yet to pick up these blacksmith upgrades. They're coming through at the moment, though. It's going to take some time, but this white tower, obviously capable of dishing out plenty of damage here. But remember that those Sofa warriors do have access to their imported armor. Will be coming through shortly. We can see it right there. +2 ranged armor, +2 melee armor. The exact same way that those men-at-arms have got access to their Giga Chad armor cladding. But over back on that east side, numbers really starting to build. It's very interesting to me that we're yet to see spearmen coming out from Divine. Normally when going for this kind of strategy, spear crossbow is the best way to go, as long as you've got a single mangonel. You want to put a mangonel in the mix. Really makes the enemy have difficulty dealing with your combo and allows you to have a lot of pressure with your siege. Obviously, they're going to throw down a siege workshop. They're going to look to put down a mangonel or to get out a springald. But that's all something that you've got to put in the mix yourself. And you've got to go, okay, well, I know there's going to be a springald, so I'm going to get 2 springalds out. And now I'm going to force him into more springalds. Wall attempt, unsuccessful. Divine now going to get caught with his pants down. Manages to take out the first of the sofas. Second one going to get taken out. Third one gets focused down. These crossbow numbers doing a number on the sofas, but he will lose the mass here. And this is going to actually hurt him a huge amount. The big thing for Divine right now was to actually just push the enemy with all of his units. But I don't know where the rest of them are. He's definitely been caught in a bit of an awkward spot, losing out those men-at-arms, nowhere near enough spears. I think that's one of the critiques I would throw at him. It's like, where are the spears? And obviously people go, well, Drongo, he didn't make spears because his enemy's got archers. And yeah, sure, I get that. But at the end of the day, you need something to defend against these Sofa warriors. And when you're putting on pressure like that, when you're getting out there on the map, it really makes sense just to make sure that you've got even just a handful of spears is more than enough to help turn the tides of battle. But now that push going to be coming up. Divine will spot this out with his outpost. Knows well and truly about it. Divine going for the no-wall challenge, and I really dislike this. I'm going to say it right now. You have been raided so much by your opponent at this point in the game. You know that there's going to be more raids coming in. So why are we not wall... Okay. There is a wall up. Is this going to be it, though? I mean, one of the big things for me is, like, you need to control the narrative, right? I often talk about this, controlling the narrative. You don't want to be the story, and then we both aged up to castle age, and he raided me to death, and then I died. That's not the story that you want. The story that you want to tell is, I lost 3 villagers early on, and I learned my lesson. I walled my entire base, then I pushed the enemy, and I killed him. That's the story that you want to be telling. I felt like I kind of said that like Zap Brannigan, for anybody who's familiar with Futurama. Zap Brannigan. God, I love that guy. Wasn't he just that's a role model right there. You can oh gosh, I gotta be careful. It's 2023. I'm probably putting my foot into it, but at the same time, everybody likes a little bit of death by Snoo Snoo. That was a great episode, wasn't it? What was the best Futurama episode? If I had to think about it. Oh, you know what? I remember back when I was a kid. I say when I was a kid. I think I was a teenager. Me and my cousin watched every single episode. We were on school holidays, and we're just going to watch every single episode of Futurama, and we literally just watched it for like 5 or 6 days non-stop. It was awesome. What a great time that was. Speaking of great times, though, villagers in the base of Divine not having a great time. Meanwhile, towards the middle of the map, men-at-arm numbers have really started to build up here. The only way he's going to be able to deal with this as the Malians is obviously going for these Sofa warriors. That's going to be a pretty decent counter. They've got that extra little bit of damage against infantry. Meanwhile, back towards the base, there's nothing here to defend against these Sofa warriors that are raiding him. He's lost 16 workers so far, up to 96 vills versus the 91. He's on 3 TC against 2, so you'd expect a bit more of an advantage. But now those poison arrows coming through. And Divine looking to hold on the front line. Age of Crashes trying to make it through. Not going to be looking to connect on the back. Obviously, these aren't horsemen, so they don't get bonus damage against ranged units. They just get bonus damage against infantry. So they're absolutely fine just fighting it out the way that it is. The one thing to note is that you're up against these crossbows on the back line that have got quite a bit of damage. So you could definitely prioritize looking to take them out, but in the end, it's going to be archers remaining against crossbows remaining. The numbers pretty even Stevens at the moment, 46 v 46. Check in with the economies, though. You're talking about almost 5,000, actually, no, 4,500 resources a minute coming in. These archers going to absolutely decimate through the ranks of the crossbow. So 4,500 income per minute. Oh my god, look at the difference between these two versus 2,500. What is this Malian economy? This is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. Didn't Beastie's tier list have, like, Malians in terrible tier? I don't even think they were on the tier list. That's how bad they were. Look, I'll be honest. I just remember the Rus and the French were S tier. That was it. Everybody else, it was like, throw them out the window. These are the two big boys. But with an economy like this, we got to talk about this big gal landmark, ladies and gentlemen. This is the elephant in the room, and I hate to say that without Delhi players being present, but this is kind of wild. I mean, we spoke earlier about the power of the Bermuda Triangle, but what power is the Bermuda Triangle when you've just got the ability to bypass that completely with the power of the cow? Gosh. All right, crossbow numbers really starting to build here for Divine. Starting to go into longbow as well. That was something that I mentioned earlier. Against the Malians, longbows are really quite strong. I don't know exactly why that is. I think my justification is whenever you make longbows as the English, the Malians naturally want to be like, okay, he's making longbows, I'm going to make javelin. And when they make javelin, it's just like this big, it's a giant trap, dude. Javelin are the biggest trap units. Because naturally, like, you see 100 longbows and you're like, I'm going to make 100 javelin. And it's like, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. You can mix it, like, you mix in a couple of javelin, but don't go ham on javelin. So I think that's part of the reason why, as English, I love going for the longbows, because it kind of baits people in who don't know about the javelin trap into going javelins, and it's just like, you eat them for breakfast. You know, how do you want to eat them? I mean, you can eat them with cavalry, eat them with horsemen, eat them with the knights, eat them with the mangoes, eat them with just longbows. Literally, just longbows will beat the javelins at a certain point. As long as you've got enough damage to overcome the armor, once you've got veterancy and +2 ranged attack, you're absolutely fine. But let's check in now on that south side as we do begin to see gold becoming the primary fighting concern. And take a look at this. Age of Crashes miles ahead. Something we've seen him do before. We've casted his games before. He's been absolutely on point with gold control. Is it going to work out this game? That's the question as the Griot Bara gets thrown down. Or as some would say, the Griot Bara. There we go. That's a little bit better pronounced. But another raid coming in behind over on that west side. He's gone for walls at the front, but maybe a little bit too ambitious. I was going to say ambiguous, but that doesn't really make sense about these walls. Normally, I would encourage an onion defense. An onion defense where you've got these layers upon layers of walls, but it's not going to be the case here. Now, with Imperial Age, there's a number of spikes that the Malians get, but one of them is not the archers. The archers don't spike anywhere near as hard as other civilizations. And the reason for that is because they don't have access to incendiary arrows. Everybody else gets a huge damage boost once they hit Imperial. Obviously, you've got, you know, your +3, you've got your elite upgrade for your archers, and they still have access to both of those things, but the one thing that they're missing are those incendiary arrows. So that's one thing to note, that even though you've got this big massive of archers, you're not going to get the same bonus another civilization would. Obviously, you still want to go Imp. I'm not advocating against it. I'm just saying it's not going to be as pronounced. And still, we just see Divine just losing out villagers here. I tell you what, if there is a story to be told in this game, it is why you should be building walls, especially as the English. Now towards the north, a second keep is going to get thrown down. Now these are a couple Trebaway boulders, a couple boulders away from a couple Treb boulders away. There we go, a couple Treb boulders away from being taken out. And there are so many keeps here on this map. Don't tell me it's still on stone. Oh my lord, it's still on stone. How much stone has he got this game? Can we just do some quick math here? 2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3. Quick math. Okay, so 75 stone every minute. He's been aged up for 20 minutes now. He's got 1,500 stone from this landmark. It has paid for essentially 2 keeps. I mean, 2 keeps are 1,800 stone now. So it's a little bit shy of that, but it's still pretty damn good. That's crazy. That's a valuable landmark. A keep and a TC, I guess you could say that one. Keep and a TC. So the Griot Bara is up now. Let's check in with it. There she blows. A couple of options for you. You can increase the food gather rate, which obviously stacks up with the oh my god, look at them. Look at the amount of food it is. 100? He hasn't even got precision crossbreeding yet. Bro, you gotta get your precision crossbreeding. What is going on, Age of Crashes? Don't be crashing out of me in this game without getting the precision crossbreeding. 109 food a minute from this. Now, does that include the bonus from the Grand Fulani Corral? I'm assuming that it does. Hold on, 109. Carry the 1. That is a lot of numbers. I'm gonna say that much. I'm not even kidding you. I'm literally trying to do the math in my head right now, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I don't think you can divide 109 by 3, or and at least come out with like a round number, right? Because 90 divided by 3 is 30, so 99, 118. Where's that extra 1 coming from? Oh no, it's 109, not 119. Okay, that's fine. Okay. No, wait, no, it doesn't, because it would be 108. What the hell, Relic? I don't even know. He's managed to come through this wall on the backside. So, you know, we talked about getting a wall up here, controlling the narrative, and it all just goes out the window immediately because he just breaks down the wall anyways. I guess we've reached that point in the game, though, where it's to be expected. Sprinkled in placement, doing a decent job. So, how does Divine get back into this game? And to be honest, I don't actually know the answer, because the main issue is he's really behind on the economy. I'm talking a huge amount here. Like, when we add up these numbers, you're talking about 5.5k against 3.5k. What is driving this? I mean, obviously there's 5 relics, which is, you know, if we consider it, you're talking 5 relics, that's 400 gold a minute. On top of that, oh, he hasn't got tithe barns yet, so you can't throw that one in the bag just yet. Look at this population size. It's got to be the cows. It's the cow difference. It's got to be the cow difference. On the front line. Huge numbers of men-at-arms, but keep in mind he's going up against elite units here. Elite Sofa, together with the elite archers. And now, looking to tee off towards that backline. No incendiary arrows, as we pointed out before. Both of these players sitting on 200 population. Divine starting to drop down, though. 187. Maxing out at the moment. Age of Crashes doing a decent job as he completely cleans up this front line. Good game just going to get called. He says, I can't do it. And to be honest, I don't think there was any way back into this game. What was that late game? What is that powerhouse that is coming out right now? That is insane, that cow landmark. Fellas, if you want to see more action like this, make sure you check out Divine. I'll leave a link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, and I'll catch you in the next one.